As the White House blasts recent reports that have called into question President Biden's fitness for a second term, now media critic Steve Krakauer writing in The Hill, did President Biden break a one-term pledge? Quote, Biden never explicitly made a one-term promise during the campaign, but he certainly implied it with language of transition. He had surrogates talking to their pals in the press, planting the seeds of a single term. Let's bring in NewsNation media contributor Steve Krakauer. Steve, good morning.
Hey, great to be here.
Hey, Steve, let's jump right into it. Some of the headlines from the 2020 cycle included The Guardian. Joe Biden positions himself as a bridge to the next generation. New York Times, Joe Biden weighing unique steps to reassure voters concerned about his age. Politico, Biden signals to aides that he would serve only a single term. Steve, why do you believe there was something more going on here?
Yeah, I think those headlines are really crucial. And I think for the audience to understand what's going on, let's break those into two different categories. Okay, the Guardian headline references the bridge to the next generation. That's something that Joe Biden said publicly at a campaign event. He described that as a bridge. And in fact, it's actually kind of interesting when you look back at it now, which I did recently. He had Kamala Harris, his then just a person that was kind of on his side, eventually would become his running mate, on stage with him, along with Cory Booker and other kind of next generation Democrats. When he said that, he also said things publicly like, I'm going to be a transition president. Well, you think about transition, you don't really normally think about an 8-term transition necessarily. So that's what he said publicly. But those other two headlines, Politico and the New York Times, are not things that Joe Biden said publicly, but what anonymous sources who were described as very close to Joe Biden. The Politico column cited 4 individuals who speak regularly with Joe Biden who said it was, quote, virtually inconceivable that he would run for another term. One person was actually quoted as saying he will not run for re-election. Now, so those two things were happening simultaneously. We saw publicly Joe Biden kind of signal that I'm a transition, I'm a bridge, but behind the scenes, voters were getting through the media this essentially, I mean, really was explicit that he will be a one-term president. And it's important to understand what the context is, because then Joe Biden was not a lot of people's first choice. He was kind of the consensus candidate that came about a few months down the road. They didn't want Bernie Sanders, and so they kind of settled on Joe Biden. And the conceit was to a lot of voters, well, it's just going to be one term.
And we can also agree that things didn't take off for him until after South Carolina and Clyburn actually on board, kind of lighting the fire underneath the feet of Democrats. President Biden has said that he may not have sought a second term if former President Trump was not on the ballot.
That's true. Yes. And you know, that is really when we talk about why did people become this consensus around Joe Biden in 2020. It was explicitly Donald Trump. Who can stop Donald Trump? That was the Democrats' mission. And they settled on Joe Biden because they thought perhaps that Bernie Sanders couldn't, or another candidate that was emerging was not their right time. And so, yes, that is true. You know, he has signaled that, OK, you know, Donald Trump's running, so that's why I'm running again. But he even said back in March of 2021, I'm planning to run for a second term. And so there's all these, you know, reading the tea leaves. Was he really running for a second term? Was he not? Either way, the point that was made, and I quote in the column in The Hill, the New York Times political reporter Astrid Herndon, who is a journalist, who says that he thinks that a lot of the public felt gaslit. The voters of Joe Biden felt gaslit by the way it was portrayed in 2019 and 2020, potentially the fact that they supported him in 2020. And then they expected the next person, whether it's Kamala Harris, who certainly that made the most sense. In fact, there was also reporting that whoever that VP pick, that's going to be the candidate in 2024. Obviously, that changed. So whatever the calculus, you know, Trump running again, however it wants to be spun now, there are certainly voters that are resistant to Joe Biden in 2024, even if they supported him in 2020, because of the fact that they did not expect him to be running for re-election. And as you showed in that video, in that fundraiser, you know, they have real reason to be concerned.
And Steve, we will all be watching to see how this plays out, only a few months away from November 5th. Steve Krakauer, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.